You didn't think about that, did you? As soon as you saw my red hat, all you could think about was discriminating against me. Well, imagine having the airline owner tell you this. By the way, while you are working for him, that's exactly what happens in this story. The airport terminal was chaotic, and the sound of boarding announcements, rolling suitcases, and travelers hurrying to catch their flights could be heard all around. Among the crowd was Daniel Harper, a successful businessman in his late 50s. Dressed in a casual polo shirt, jeans, and a bright red MAGA cap, Daniel moved with the confidence of someone used to navigating busy airports. His cap, proudly displaying the slogan, "Make America Great Again," turned a few heads as he made his way to his gate. Some smiled while others exchanged disapproving glances. Daniel was flying on his airline, Liberty Skies, though he often traveled incognito. As the owner, he liked to observe how his employees treated passengers without the influence of his title. Today's flight was no exception. At the boarding gate, passengers lined up, presenting their tickets to the gate agents. Daniel noticed a young woman in her 20s, dressed in the sharp navy uniform of a Liberty Skies stewardess, standing nearby. Her name tag read Emma. She wore a polite but practiced smile as she surveyed the crowd. When her eyes landed on Daniel, her expression shifted, a subtle curl of her lip and a flicker of disdain that she quickly masked. Once on board, Daniel took a seat in first class, placing his small carry-on in the overhead bin. He noticed Emma moving briskly through the cabin, checking seat numbers and assisting other passengers. When she reached his row, her professional demeanor faltered again. She hesitated for a moment before addressing him. "Sir," she said curtly, "your cap. It might be offensive to some passengers. Would you mind removing it?" Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Offensive? It's just a cap," he replied calmly. Emma's smile was tight. "We like to maintain a comfortable atmosphere for everyone on board. Political statements can sometimes cause discomfort. So please take it off." Daniel tilted his head, considering her words. "I don't think my cap is causing any discomfort. And even if it does, isn't that their problem?" Emma's tone grew firmer. "Sir, I'm asking you to remove it as a courtesy to other passengers. I really don't want to waste more time on this. Please get that Trump propaganda off your head." Daniel met her gaze evenly. "And I'm politely declining. I'll keep it on, thank you. As for the propaganda part, you can think what you want, but I know for a fact that I'm not breaking any rules by wearing it." She pressed her lips together, clearly annoyed. Without another word, she moved to assist another passenger, but Daniel couldn't help but notice the occasional glare she shot his way during the pre-flight preparations. As the plane taxied down the runway and took off, Emma's attitude didn't improve. When Daniel requested a drink, she delayed bringing it, attending to other passengers first. When she finally returned, her tone was clipped. "Here's your drink," she said, placing it on his tray table with a little too much force, causing the liquid to slosh. "Thank you," Daniel said, unfazed. Throughout the flight, Emma's behavior continued to be passive-aggressive. She responded curtly to Daniel's polite requests and seemed to go out of her way to avoid engaging with him unless absolutely necessary. Other passengers began to notice, exchanging confused glances at her uncharacteristic demeanor. At one point, a fellow passenger leaned over and whispered to Daniel, "She's really got it in for you. Is it because of the hat?" Daniel smiled faintly. "Seems like it," he said, "but it's not worth making a fuss over. Not yet, anyway." The passenger nodded, though the tension in the air was palpable. About halfway through the flight, turbulence shook the cabin. Passengers gasped as the plane jolted, and the seatbelt sign dinged on. Emma moved quickly through the aisle, ensuring everyone's seatbelts were fastened. When she reached Daniel, she paused. "We will pause a bit here as well. Why, you wonder? To tell you two things: to like and subscribe. We appreciate your support. Now, let's unpause and continue with the story. Is your seatbelt fastened, sir? Did you make your flight safe again?" she asked, her tone implying she didn't expect him to comply, while also provoking him for his hat in the process. "It is," Daniel replied calmly, gesturing to the securely fastened belt. She gave a curt nod and moved on, but the tension between them was palpable. Daniel couldn't help but wonder how someone with such a clear bias had made it through Liberty Sky's rigorous customer service training. As Emma continued down the aisle, a passenger in economy called out, "Miss, could I get some water?" Emma turned, her smile returning instantly. "Of course," she said sweetly, retrieving a bottle from the cart. The contrast in her behavior was stark, and Daniel took note. When the plane landed and passengers began disembarking, Daniel waited until the cabin had mostly cleared before gathering his belongings. Emma stood at the front of the plane, bidding farewell to passengers with a forced smile. When Daniel approached, she gave him a quick, perfunctory nod. "Thank you for flying with us next time. Leave that hat at home, please," she said, her tone devoid of warmth. Daniel paused, looking her directly in the eye. "You're welcome. I will think about it," he said evenly. "And thank you for your service." Emma blinked, her expression flickering with confusion at his choice of words. But before she could respond, Daniel stepped off the plane, his face calm but his mind racing. The next morning, Emma reported to work as usual, unaware of the storm brewing behind the scenes. At Liberty Sky's corporate headquarters, Daniel sat in a conference room with the airline's senior management team. He recounted the events of the previous day, detailing Emma's behavior and emphasizing the importance of maintaining professionalism, regardless of personal biases. "We've built Liberty Skies on a foundation of respect and inclusivity," Daniel said firmly. "What I experienced yesterday undermines everything we stand for. I want this addressed immediately." The management team nodded, taking detailed notes. Daniel's calm demeanor only underscored the seriousness of his words. As the meeting concluded, he gave a clear directive. "Bring Emma in for a meeting this afternoon. She needs to understand the gravity of her actions." That afternoon, Emma was called into the manager's office. To her surprise, Daniel was seated at the desk alongside the branch manager. "Mr. Harper," Emma said, her eyes widening. Daniel's expression was unreadable. "Hello, Emma. Please have a seat." She sat down slowly, her mind racing. "What's going on?" The branch manager cleared his throat. "Emma, Mr. Harper is the owner of Liberty Skies. He's here to discuss some concerns about yesterday's flight." Emma's face drained of color. You own the airline." "I do," Daniel said, his tone steady. "And I was on your flight yesterday, observing how our staff interacts with passengers. Your treatment of me was disappointing, to say the least. Also, I didn't bring my hat today, since it seemed that we couldn't have a nice conversation with it around." Emma's mouth opened, but no words came out. She looked down, her hands twisting nervously in her lap. "Emma," Daniel continued, "I'm not here to embarrass you. I'm here to address a serious issue. Your personal opinions have no place in how you treat passengers. When you put on that uniform, you represent this airline and everything it stands for. Do you understand that?" She nodded quickly, her voice barely a whisper. "Yes, sir." "Good," Daniel said, "because this isn't just about me. What if another passenger had experienced the same treatment? Someone who couldn't address it directly with corporate? How would that reflect on Liberty Skies? You didn't think about that, did you? As soon as you saw my red hat, all you could think about was discriminating against me." Emma's eyes filled with tears. I'm so sorry, Mr. Harper. I let my personal feelings get in the way of my job. It won't happen again." Daniel studied her for a moment before nodding. "I believe you mean that. But actions speak louder than words. Effective immediately, you'll be enrolled in additional customer service training, and I expect a written apology for yesterday's behavior." "Of course," Emma said quickly. "Thank you for giving me a chance to make this right." The story of what happened quickly spread among Liberty Sky's employees. For many, it was a wake-up call about the importance of professionalism and the value of treating every passenger with respect, regardless of their appearance or beliefs. As for Daniel, he continued to travel incognito, always watching and learning. The flying experience is stressful, so being politically judged doesn't help, that's for sure. Did something like this ever happen to you? If it did, please share your story with us in the comments below.